Hey, hello, this is Shah from the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Sexual Abuse, or actually, I should say, after child abuse, which could be the same, obviously, right? I'm back in Dallas. I was already back with the previous podcast that I placed um, yesterday. That was my first time back. I had a very unexpected travel to make, and it was well, not unexpected. Like I had to leave immediately, in 5 or 10 minutes. But it was kind of an unexpected travel. So I talked about that yesterday on the podcast. How unexpected things in life also, give you unexpected opportunities. But as I promised, I wanted to come back on a couple of things that actually I experienced. And maybe you can call that unexpected opportunities, but there were definitely unexpected learnings in there. If you have followed me a few years now already, then you know that I did a long series on the power of now, and that's interesting. And I don't want to repeat all that, but maybe I do, by the way, but not now. But the one thing is, what happened to me is that I had on November 9 was my birthday, and it was a special number, and 60. Yeah, I turned 60, and my best friend, she called me and she said, "Hey, we have together." She's also November, very close to my day. I'm not going to say how much in this podcast is not so important, but together we would have like a special number, and we know each other for a very long time, over 25 years. And she said, "Hey, it's a long time ago since we made a trip together. Why don't you come over, and then we'll make a long road trip, and in that road trip we will also visit some special places, at least." She and I believe those are special places for various reasons. And um, and actually, I'm not really big on celebrating my birthday, at least not in a way that I need parties and stuff like that. I explained that yesterday as well. Um, but so I reluctantly said yes, right? I reluctantly said yes, and because I thought we were going away for a weekend or so. But then she said, "Do you have a specific beginning date, and do you have to be back in Dallas at a certain date?" I said, "Well, not really, to be honest. And I can always work while I'm on the road, so maybe not a big deal." And so she booked that. She booked the whole trip for us, and I just went with the flow. She booked me the flights and so on and so on. And so it turned out to be a whole 10 day a 10 day trip, which is, if you think about it, not even that long. And most of my work is online anyhow, so it shouldn't matter. But it started to matter to me. It started to be honest, and if she's listening, you know, just forgive me for not telling you that, but because I had a blast, and I really enjoyed it. One of, definitely a thing that I will remember for a very long time, if not forever. But in the beginning, I was fighting with it, right? I was flying to California, which was great. I mean, that was just. But then I started to realize, oh my gosh, I will definitely not be able to do as much work as I was planning to do. And I was already 2 days in the trip, and I was still internally, I was still fighting with that, right? And I think we all have that, where we we committed to something, but we stay a little bit, not fully in it. We don't go fully in it. There was nothing much that I could change anyhow. Well, yeah, I could take a flight back, of course, and then just, start working behind my desk as I do every day. So I could have done that, but most of the time we don't do that. We complain a little bit in our head, and we're not fully into it. Then, and we're not fully, and I was not working a lot either. So it's so I was doing not good with my work, and I was also not doing good with being present with my friend and being there all the time. So I was a little bit in my head in two places, and none of these places is the now. Right? Does that make sense? So you're not really in the now when you do that. Now, you would think that someone who has been teaching this for a while would actually be really good at that, but of course, I might have thought that too, but it turned out not to be. So I have to admit to you guys that I walked right in my own trap, right? Instead of listening to and just being present in what you do, because I used to have a saying, if you sit, you sit, and then I used another S word, then you and if you eat, you eat, and so on and so on and so on. I don't know, if you stand, you stand. If you walk, right? Be present in that thing what you are doing, which was exactly talking about this thing. So very often we are put in a situation that we actually don't really want to be in, and we resist it so much that we actually do ourselves not a good deal, instead of really accepting where we're in and then find a way how to best deal with the situation. Now think about it like this. Actually, I was in a very nice situation. I was with my best friend. I don't see her a lot. We were about to, actually, for a part, we were already on the road, which was beautiful. We had good food, we had good music, we had good topics to talk about. Everything was perfect, and I still was, strangely enough, resisting it. And if I then would, come in a hotel room and flip open the laptop and just do as much work, but I didn't do that either. So I was in two different ways, not really in the now, right? So it doesn't only happen when you go into situations that you don't agree so much with, which I actually say you have that too, not to stay in it, right? But just to first accept where you are and then go where you need to go, right? Does that make sense? So I think I'm doing a lesson on the power of now anyhow, which is but I must say, you need to also know a little bit your character, right? I'm a little bit like that, right? I travel a lot, but the day or the 2 days before the travel, I start to drag my feet. And I say, oh, I actually don't want to go. And it doesn't really matter whether I go home, home in I live in the Netherlands, in the US, and I'm a US citizen, so I consider the US also as my home. Or if I go to my motherland, so to speak, where I was born, and go to my family, I consider that as home too. And I typically do that a few times a year. Due to Corona, as you can imagine, we couldn't travel so much, but normally I fly. But I have the same thing when I go there. I think, oh, maybe I should stay home a little bit longer. And when I'm there and go here, it's the same thing. It's a little bit a character, or just a genre thing. Maybe it's not even a character thing as well. So I have that anyhow. So there are always moments when you're not fully in the now. Now, if I connect this, the power of now, with being an abuse victims, then that could easily happen to us. We could stay in the past by, thinking too much about what happened to us. We could stay too much in the future by only thinking about, oh, I wish this was going on. I wish I had a better life. I wish I was richer. I was more healthy. I wish I was with someone, if you don't have a relationship, or if you're in a relationship, I wish the relationship was over. There could be all kind of things that you could wish you were into, and in that context we really understand often what we mean with the power of now. Now you see that even in a simple thing, and it's, I mean, not that it was not special, but it was simple, right? It was very special to make that road trip. Even there, I had a little bit that feeling of not fully in it. Now I'm pretty cool with it. I'm pretty okay with it. So people don't typically immediately, unless they know me really well, they cannot see that I'm not truly in it. But I had to admit to myself, and I think that's the beauty of this podcast. You just really tell what's going on and be an open book for you guys, because that's a little bit what it is. At some point in time, you have to say that to yourself. Say, come on, man. Hey, what is it that you're going to be? Either you work, you work and say, hey, best friend, let's stop. And sorry about the background noise. Normally I turn my phone off and I forgot. And then do that, right? But then probably my head is going, oh, what is my best friend going to think? And she organized this all, and I'm so ungrateful and stuff like that. So you could play that game with you the whole time, no matter what you do. Now after a day or a 1.5 day, I was fully in it, and we had a true blast. So a few breakthroughs through. If you think about inspiration that I was looking for actually on this trip as well, it actually happened. and whether it was, I happened because it was wishful thinking or self-fulfilling prophecy, I don't know yet, but I will tell that. I will tell you about that as well. So that was actually that was the lesson I wanted to tell you. It's a little bit the power of now, on even the things that are nice to have, right? And it could happen to you. And I was thinking about this before I was doing this podcast. It happens actually in a lot of things, right? It happens sometimes when you say, "Hey, what restaurant shall we eat?" and you go to a Mexican restaurant. And then you think, oh, actually, I rather had Chinese restaurant. But you decide to stay in a Mexican restaurant. If you're in a Mexican restaurant, then you better enjoy your Mexican food. Don't think about what you want to do. And I have that sometimes, even with simple things like, what movie shall I watch on Netflix? Now, I don't have a lot of time to do that. So I have a hard time deciding what to watch, right? If I watch something and I watch one movie, but my head is like, oh, maybe I should have watched a romantic movie or some stuff. See, it's also in the little things. And the reason why I tell you this, because if you are, and it could also be other reasons, but this podcast is for abuse victims. If you are an abuse victim, very often I come across people who have a hard time to stay in the now, and it's much easier to practice on the simple things, like, I want to eat Chinese, but I went to a Mexican restaurant because my friend wanted to be there, right? And instead of just accepting that and not thinking about a Chinese restaurant, or if you decide to watch one movie but you maybe want to see another movie. It's a little bit of what we call a cognitive dissonance in psychology, right? So try to practice it on the smaller things, right? Because then it will help you on the bigger things as well. And I really thought that these things would not happen to me all the time, and strangely enough, it just happened to me last week. Pretty big, actually. I was kind of a day at least. I was kind of I should work more and stuff like that. Does that make sense? So that's the lesson I had, and take that, take that. Hopefully as well. A little announcement also. This Tuesday I'm going to talk about the 4 level of consciousness. It's not entirely new, that theory, but I invite you to come and listen to it. I do it on Facebook Live, and if you go to the Facebook page John Dorff Coaching, you can also find a link there. I typically place it on the day before or that same day. You can find a link there, and then you have access to the Zoom conversation. I would definitely invite you to go there, because I think we do maybe a couple of things, and it sounds maybe a little bit, over promising, but it could literally change the world, or at least your world, right? So 4 level of consciousness. It's going to be a really interesting discussion that we have on Tuesday. Tuesday is the place, so if you like to listen to my podcast but you want to see it slightly different, then come on Tuesday, Dallas time, 12 o'clock p.m. In Europe, that's 7 p.m. in the evening, and all the other countries, somewhere in between those 2 hours as well. So I hope you come there. If not, then of course, then I hope you at least to see you and hear tomorrow in my podcast here at Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse. So this was Jean. It's good to be back again. I hope we'll see each other daily. There was a little break with some small podcasts in between, but from now on I'll be daily back, and hope to hear you tomorrow. Okay, bye bye.